Like and subscribe now, or you're gonna have bad luck this week.
Relics left behind by ancient humans are typically broken, buried, and hard to identify, but there are some that can make us completely rethink our place in history. These puzzling ancient finds have a way of captivating the public, perhaps because it is too easy to dream up interesting explanations for how and why things exist. But sometimes the explanations can be scary. From the giant mysterious lines of Peru to giant stones from space, here are 10 most terrifying discoveries made on Earth. Let's begin. Number 10. Nasca lines. Peru is filled with mysteries, but this one has surprised scientists the most over the years. If you ever fly over the high desert of southern Peru in a plane, you will witness the landscape change as lines take shape to form simple geometric designs like trapezoids, straight lines, rectangles, and swirls. Some of the swirls and zigzags start to form more distinct shapes, like a hummingbird, a spider, a monkey. These are the renowned Nasca lines, which is the subject of great mystery for over 80 years. How were they formed? What purpose could they have served? And most importantly, were aliens involved? No one knows the answer to these questions. In total, there are over 80 straight lines, 300 geometric figures, and 70 animals and plant designs, also called biomorphs. Some of the straight lines run up to 30 miles, while the biomorphs range from 30 to 1,200 feet in length. For context, that is as large as the Empire State Building. Number 9. Costa Rican Dragon Balls. In the 1930s, workers from the United Fruit Company began clearing the land in a valley in Costa Rica. They came across several perfectly round stone spheres that looked like Dragon Balls, just very huge ones. These giant stone spheres, with some dating as far back as AD 600, can be found all over the Daquí Delta of southern Costa Rica, locally known as Las Bolas, or the Ball. Most of these rocks are made from the rock known as gabbro and are made from molten magma. They were made during the pre-Columbian civilization period. According to archaeologists, people of that civilization used small stones to carve these stones into perfect circles. However, some non-experts speculate that these spheres were used for purposes of astronomy. Others believe that these rocks were used to show directions to important places. Though they are clearly man-made, exactly who made these, how they did it, when it happened, and why remains unclear. The real reason is only being speculated. According to John W. Hoops, the Chibachan people inhabited this region. They perished due to the Spanish conquest, so the reason to have these spherical rocks also passed with them. Number 8. Gall wasps. Yeah, you heard that right. This might sound like the creepiest discovery ever. And unlike other discoveries, this one is much more recent. Scott Egan, an evolutionary biologist, recently discovered a new species of wasp just within the walking distance of his laboratory. This species can be named the parasite of a parasite. Gall wasps lay eggs on oak leaves, and the tree is seduced chemically to produce growths called gall, which shelters and feeds the wasp larvae. But these new species, these lay eggs inside the gall of other wasp galls, stealing the egg nests of other wasps, killing caterpillars, and feeding on gall tissue is what the adult wasps do, and their larvae would eat on dead caterpillars and even larvae of other wasps. What a mind-bogglingly creepy insect strategy. Number 7. Exotic pets in ancient Egypt. Heracleopolis was one of the most significant towns along the Nile River 5,000 years ago, and its wealthy residents showed their status by keeping exotic pets. A cemetery excavated has turned up 2 elephants, several baboons, and a hippo among other animals. But it wasn't all kibble and petting. Skeletons of several of the baboons and hippos showed signs of bone fractures that had healed. Researchers think they got hurt during capture or while being tied in place. The bones would only have been able to heal while the animals were protected though, which is how they know they were kept in captivity. Number 6. Lake Vostok. In 2012, Russian scientists took on an unusual discovery route. Customarily, they expected to find something new, but I bet they didn't prepare for this shocker. After drilling over 2 miles below the landscape of Antarctica, they found Lake Vostok under the surface of the East Antarctic ice sheet. Ordinarily, this lake ought to exist in our favorite fictional books or movies, but far from that, scientists discovered this lake right under the ice. They were not staggered by this lake. There was more than meets the eye. Would you expect a lake buried in ice to be habitable? Certainly not. When researchers took samples of this lake to the laboratory, they realized that some living organisms dwelled in this lake. For a lake that has existed for millions of years, one would expect it to be lifeless. As expected, the species of bacteria found in this lake was unfamiliar. They were alien-like and perceived to have existed for thousands of years. Aside this lake, there were several other buried under Antarctica's ice sheets that are yet to be discovered. Antarctica is a bag full of surprises, and there is more that lies within for every surprise you unveil. Number 5. Earliest human facial piercing. Facial piercings have become a new trend, but recently there has been a discovery of the first known facial piercing in a human. Can you guess how this was found? Well, while examining the 12,000-year-old skeleton from Tanzania, it was found that he had a facial piercing. The man's remains were originally discovered back in the year 1913, but when it was re-examined, it was found to have some facial piercings that affected teeth, which at first appeared to be deliberately filed down. But surprisingly, when they looked more closely, it was found that the teeth were worn down from objects scraping against them. What was it? It's not known, but probably the man had lip and cheeks pierced with some 1-inch wide large jewelry pieces. This discovery gave us the possibility of how old body modifications could be, but it's still hard to say when people started adorning themselves with such heavy piercings. Number 4. An unusual artifact. A creepy artifact has been found recently. You know where? Inside an Egyptian mummy. This was found to be 2,000 years old, made from a special type of mineral, calcite. A tiny artifact was found when the particle accelerator was used to examine the mummy. That sounds quite interesting. This artifact was found near the abdomen next to the tiny incision made to remove the mummy's viscera. This was the scarab beetle, a small remaining piece of an amulet placed inside the body for protection in the afterlife. That sounds disturbing when we look at the age of that mummy, which was of a 4-foot-tall child. This child was mummified at the age of 5 years, but the painting on the coffin showed an adult woman. According to experts, that painting might be the representation of what the child would look like if it was not mummified. Number 3. The Xi'an Terracotta Army. The Xi'an Terracotta Army is known as one of the most influential archaeological discoveries of all time. In March 1974, a group of peasants digging a well in a drought-pierced Shaanxi province in northwest China unearthed fragments of a clay figure. The first evidence of what would turn out to be one of the greatest archaeological discoveries of modern times. Not sure what laid beneath the dirt, they called on a team of archaeologists who were stunned to discover 8,000 life-size terracotta soldiers under the earth. Over time, it was discovered that the Terracotta Army is a collection of terracotta sculptures depicting the armies of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China. It is a form of funerary art buried with the emperor in 210 to 209 BCE to protect the emperor in his afterlife. The artifacts also included horses and chariots, and it was found that each sculpture was very detailed and every soldier having different facial features. Such an amazing yet terrifying sculpture art. One can just imagine how long it must have taken to build the entire army, only to bury it afterwards. Number 2. Giant tunnels. Brazil is famous for a few things: its forest and the variety of wildlife within them, music and festivals, even martial arts. However, just recently, Brazil is getting a lot more attention for the various recent discoveries made there. This being one of them. If you explore certain rock faces in the country, you'll find a lot of smooth-walled caves. Thing is, they aren't really caves, but tunnels. You see, caves are naturally formed by water dissolving rock, and the process could go on for millions of years. The result is a cave with smooth walls. If you look closely at the walls of these tunnels, you'll see giant claw marks. Yes, marks that can only be made by a giant animal with giant claws. As it turns out, prehistoric Brazil was home to a number of giant tunnel-digging monsters. Although the exact animal who dug up these tunnels hasn't been identified yet, researchers do have a few suspects. Prehistoric giant armadillos such as Holmesina and Pampatherium, or giant ground sloths like the Megatherium or the Eurometherium. Number 1. The Kochno Stone. What is with all these mysterious stones? In 2016, archaeologists in Glasgow, Scotland excavated a 5,000-year-old stone slab and its enigmatic history. The so-called Kochno stone measures 13 by 8 meters, 43 feet by 26 feet, and contains swirling patterns known as cup and ring marks that have also been identified at prehistoric sites in other parts of the world. The slab may be an example of ancient artwork, according to Kenny Brophy, an archaeologist and senior lecturer at the University of Glasgow. Researchers who studied the Concho stone in the 1930s believed the stone's inscriptions may have been linked to astronomical phenomenon, like eclipses, but Brophy doesn't think that is the case. He and his team of researchers are currently studying the stone more closely to discern how prehistoric people may have used it. Which one of these discoveries fascinated you the most? Let us know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.